Let's cue the music, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Thank you, God. Victory!
Boom sauce victory, baby. Celtics take the dub. And I will say, that's got to be the best win of the year, right? I know they beat one of the best teams in the league in Miami. I know that they, had that overtime win against Charlotte, who was one of the best teams in the league at the time. But man, that was a game where, they come out here, their revenge game. I don't know, man. I'm fired up. I think that was the best the Celtics had looked. And it's funny because they looked the best they've looked all season without arguably their best player all season in Jaylen Brown. So here we go. Let's take a sip for the victory tonight. Shout out to you guys if you're drinking with me. If not, cheers anyways. Let's take a sip. Here we go. How is Lord Hobo Brewing not sponsoring this show? But all right, guys, I know the chat is flying. If you're new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like the stream as well. We will get to the chat tonight. If you do want to skip the line, make sure to drop a super chat. But let's jump into the box score. We got player of the game to get to. And then we'll get to our chat because I'm sure the chat's going to be boom tonight. But let's get to it here. Again, the Celtics take a big win over the Raptors. Here's the final score. 104-88. A lot of good players in this game, which I feel like we haven't had the opportunity to say in a while. They had 6 guys in double digits. Jason Tatum almost a triple-double, 22 points, 12 boards, 7 assists, which you love to see that. Al Horford, 10 and 5. Robert Williams, 16 and 13, 2 steals, an assist, a block. He was filling up the stat sheet. We'll talk about him in just a second. Dennis Schroeder, who started the game, in my opinion, terribly. Chuck would say, oh, that was just terrible. Dennis Schroeder was throwing the ball to the Raptors more than any other Raptors player. He had 8 turnovers, but I will say he had some pretty damn clutch, passes and finishes and just shots, I guess, overall, and defensive plays too in the fourth. So got to give credit where it's due. He had 20 and 8 turnovers though, but 20 in all seriousness, 24 and 3 from him. Marcus Smart, 13, 6, 3 and 3. And then Josh Richardson, I think, played really well with 15. But let's get to the player of the game here, guys. I got to give it to Rob. I know Jason Tatum had the near triple-double with 22 points, 12 boards, and 7 assists. But let me make one thing clear. Robert Williams is 16 points, 13 rebounds, 8 offensive rebounds. Like, that all obviously is player of the game deserving to begin with. But man, Robert Williams, for a team like the Raptors that likes to come out there and play tough and play physical and everything like that, you kind of wonder, you're like, all right, is Robert Williams going to be overpowered? He is a physical player, athletic-wise and everything like that, but he's been bullied before. And from the jump, and I mean from the jump, you saw an animal inside Robert Williams saying, I'm not getting bullied today. I'm not getting bullied today. Siakam, Barnes, Precious, a choo-choo train gets in there. No, I'm not getting bullied today. In fact, I'm going to be the bully today, which he was. He set the physical tone for this team, which, on the defensive and offensive end, that rung so crucial for their win tonight. And then obviously the ball movement too. But Robert Williams, by far and away, player of the game worthy in my opinion. And, 100%, that is deserving of him, even with Tatum's near triple-double. But let's get into some chat here. We got a lot flying. Sweaty saying W. Tyler saying that's a dub. GG some from Troy. Gear saying victory. Tyler saying time for some boom sauce. You know the time, Tyler. You know the time. Scav saying, I won't lie, didn't see that coming, but we take those. I honestly, I don't know if I would have seen it. So the Celtics are playing better basketball. You know what I mean? Like, I want to give them credit for that. They beat the Heat, and then they go in their last loss to Dallas was like on a game winner, and Jason Tatum finally played well. Like, the Celtics are playing a little bit better than I think we're thinking. You know what I mean? Like, for us to say, and I was kind of on the same, Scav, I'm kind of on the same train. Like, oh, you don't know what you're doing here. Like, when I did my NBA picks video this morning, I said, hey, I'm taking the Celtics tonight, -2. Might be a biased pick, but I'm riding with my team. I will say, like, it's funny because Celtics -2 against the Raptors, in years past, I'd be like, I'm all over that. But there's something about the Celtics team that we aren't fully bought in yet, I guess, or believe in. But we're starting to see games in a row now that it's like, okay, you know what? There's promise here. And even in a game where Jaylen Brown, I already said it, but Jaylen Brown out tonight, and they still go and do it? Let's go. Raisin saying Rob better be getting player of the game. He was. Xavier saying clamps. Ubi saying smoking that Raptors pack. AC saying 3 wins in their last 4, each holding opponents under 90. They're scraping for every loose ball and getting into the passing lane. Recipe for victories. The defense has stepped up. The defense have 100% stepped up. And the thing that I saw today that has been a little bit different, or is a little bit different than I feel like it has been in the past, was at least for the first 2.5 quarters, right? The ball was zipping around. It was getting to a guy and it was not stopping there or anything like that. So you'll love to see that. Like, that was something I noticed right away. I was like, whoa. In all the games we've watched this season, I haven't seen that ball movement, that clean, that crisp and everything like that. So the defense I'm starting to see come along in multiple games now, but that ball movement was something new today. Does that make sense? Excuse me. Do you guys see that too? AC says, Schroeder's a beast, but Time Lord player of the game. He was. Boom Sauce victory chug. Yes, sir. Mayhem saying, what a chug, huh? What a chug. Mayhem saying W. Pierce is saying yes. AC saying Lord Hobo is legit. If the Celtics beat Milwaukee on Friday, I'm sending you some Virginia double IPA. The last IPA that you sent me, AC, was amazing. Amazing. But yeah, I mean, we've been going to the Boom Sauces here, and why not, right? Like, you guys know in streams past one, I would sometimes mix it up. But Boom Sauce is, I think, by far and away my favorite, at least IPA. You guys know I like my Yingling, but that's just, I don't need anyone to call me out for that. I like this comment. Mayhem says, this felt like a vintage C's game, meaning they actually played hard defense all game, and I swear they haven't done that since the bubble. You're right. That's so right. Like, think about even I would say all of last year, right? This type of win, I'm not saying they haven't had these in bits and pieces last year or anything like that, but in terms of like just thinking back, right? This win tonight was kind of like when we thought about it, a few years back, like, oh, at least the Celtics are always going to give you effort. They're always going to try. They're always going to compete, right? That's what they just did tonight. Like, all they did was compete tonight. Played physical, moved the ball, everything like that, and look what they get. They pumped Toronto by, what is that, 16 points? I don't know if that math's right, by the way, but that's what we're going with. Like, that is, and I see the next comments. I was just about to say, these took the words right out of my mouth. That's the definition of a team win. Like, these Celtics won the game tonight. Again, look at this box score. How could you say that anyone was truly the standout? Now, Robert Williams watching that game, that's why we don't just rely on stats for the player of the game. He was the player of the game, but 22 from Tatum, 10 from Horford, 16 from Rob, 20 from Schroeder, 13 from Smart, 15 from Josh Richardson. Everyone that they played a decent allotment of minutes scored, and they did their thing. You know what I mean? Shout out to OC for subscribing there. And Romeo only had 6 points, but he had like back-to-back threes made in the first. Like, everyone sort of contributed. I think that's a good word to use. Everyone that played tonight seemed like they contributed, which when is the last time that's happened? Seriously. AC says, Nick Nurse may be the most annoying human on the planet. I don't think this team has ever committed a foul. I mean, yeah, and I will say, I like some of the stuff that Nick Nurse says. Like, he was sort of the opposite of Brad when I would use the comparison of Brad sits there and goes, Nick Nurse, like, gets on the court, gets in the refs' faces, and I do think over time, like, when the Celtics played the Raptors and took them 7 in the playoffs, was that 2 years ago, in the bubble, whatever, Nick Nurse was calling out the refs and everything like that, and all of a sudden you started seeing these ticky-tacky fouls, so you do have to, I will say, and I'm probably going to get crucified for this, I'll give myself a womp-womp ahead of time, you have to respect what Nick Nurse does as a coach. Doesn't mean you like him. Doesn't mean you want a full-blown, like I used to say, Brad Stevens and Nick Nurse would be a good sort of mix of a coach. But you got to respect how much he he tries to win, not win over the refs, bully the refs. And, I've never seen it work as well as it did against the Celtics a couple years ago in the playoffs. Mitch saying, Rob heard the Ben Simmons rumors and went off. Yeah, Rob was like, hey, how you're talking about how Ben Simmons is a good, in transition, he can dunk, he can play physical, he can defend. Well, watch this. You're going to learn today. I like that. Greg says, dude, when it said 80 rebounds, I thought you had 80 rebounds. I wish, I was like, how much you drinking? No. We're not drinking too much. That was not a typo. If we look at the player of the game here, it's just 80 Reebs, which, I'll give you, Greg. It looks like 80, but it is not. It's not a typo. It's just the font looks like it's, or the space. I get your point. All right. Guys, I know we're behind in chat. You know the drill. If you do want to support the show and you do want to skip the chat line here, make sure to drop a super chat. I appreciate it. Scav saying, I just feel like I didn't expect it with Jalen out. Yeah, and here's the weird thing. We always say that. We always say, I wouldn't expect it with Tatum or with Jalen or, who knows who's out, right? We've dealt with plenty of guys out in the past. But how funny is it that the Celtics just, in the last few years, just seem to always play better when someone's out? I don't know. It's so weird to me because it's like Jaylen Brown's out. He's been your best player this year. Undebatably your best player this year so far. Tatum now, a couple games in a row, he's making an argument. But, right, majority here, Jaylen Brown, best player. He's out. You're taking on an Eastern Conference rival, a team that already pumped you earlier this year, and it's like, yeah, no, we'll handle them. We will handle them. We will wipe the floor with them that you could eat off of it so easily. MGM saying something that's not getting talked about for the first time in a while is we have not one but two bigs who are good, Rob and Al. Yeah, and it's true. And you guys know, even... was it preseason? Maybe in one of the preseason shows or one of the live podcasts, I had said, I don't know how I feel about doing a double big lineup because then it's what do you do after that? And, I know we're flipping up the box score here a lot, but pay attention to these minutes. Robert Williams, 33 minutes. Al Horford, 24 minutes. It's interesting how they can stagger these minutes, and you're not seeing a huge uptick of minutes from anyone else taking those numbers. So credit to the coach there for being able to essentially run a two big starting lineup, but only run two bigs for the entire game almost. You know what I mean? I get it. Grant Williams gets in there and plays a little bit, but in terms of big men, somehow, some way, they've worked out a way to start both bigs, but maybe keep one of them on the floor at all times. And if there's no big on the floor, it's for a brief period of time. I like it. I like what I'm seeing. And I was against the double bigs because I didn't know where you turn to after those two bigs. But you're making a fool out of me there, Udoka, because they're rolling with double bigs and it's sure as hell working. The stats prove it out too. Shout out to Greg. Greg super chats the $2. He says birthday was yesterday and got some cash here. Shout out to you, Greg. Happy birthday. Let's get a happy birthday in the chat for Greg, one of the OGs of the channel here. Raisin saying Schroeder is that force off the bench we've been missing all this time. Yeah, he's been playing well. Same with Jay Rich, though. And I see Deshaun saying it, too. He says Jay Rich is doing his thing. Jay Rich is not going to get... I've already determined he won't get the credit he deserves. I was texting some buddies and whatnot, and they're like, I think Jay Rich stinks. I'm like, yeah, I could see why you'd say that. He makes some big errors, but if you watch Josh Richardson on defense, he should do away with all of his offensive mistakes, and then he goes and drops 15 points on 55% shooting, 50% from three. Jay Rich is doing his thing 100%. Greg saying Yingling's wicked good. Had it at my family party. Couldn't stop. I love Yingling, and you guys know that for sure. Gear saying I love the guy, but my God, Kemba is terrible. I will say this: I defended Kemba until the last minute, right? But I don't regret him not being on this team at all, or I don't regret him. Yeah, I said that right. You know what I mean? He's not the same guy anymore. He's not the same guy. Matt saying Tatum realizing assists matters is so much. Yeah, I mean, that is so huge. I love the Jay Rich love here. Big saying, shout out to Jay Rich. He may not be the most prolific scorer, but he's always contributing something every game. And that's the thing. He could have 0 points tonight. Wouldn't like to see that, I'll be completely honest. But he could have 0 points tonight, and you could be like, oh, well, guess what, buddy? Josh Richardson kind of locked up when he had matchups. He had that huge block. He does not get the credit. I don't think he will get the credit moving forward either, because he seems like the guy that people overlook because he had a bad preseason, maybe a bad start to the season. But I've said to you guys, I'm on record saying how crucial I think he'll be to this team, especially towards the end of the year. Chris is saying consistency only comes with solidly defined roles. The makeup of this team is off. I can still see that. I think that they're finally starting to carve out a rotation. But you guys know I'm big on the rotation thing. I never like the idea of, hey, everyone be ready. It's like, no. I should know if I'm the sixth man. I should know if I'm not playing, if I'm only if we're up 30. Like, these roles should be defined. And I'm talking about for, like, the more consistent games. Obviously, you're going to have games where it's like, oh, Cantor, you're going to get minutes or something because we need a huge body, that type of thing. But I'm talking about, like, game in and game out, knowing your role. So I agree with that. I think that tonight, the rotation, like, I don't really have any complaints about any rotation or lineups that went out there tonight. AC says the defense was excellent. Play to your strength. Richardson, Smart, and Schroeder all scrappy, and that's why they. And did you see that? Trent, Van Vliet, OG's always kind of like that, but those guys were getting really not chippy. That's not the right word, because there's nothing like disrespectful in that game or anything. You know what I mean? But they were getting like after it early in the game, right? And I was like, oh boy, are they setting the tone? Like the first possession, right? If I'm remembering correctly, Gary Trent was all up in Dennis Schroeder's ass. And it's like, dude, like, I mean, you gotta love it if you're a Raptors fan, I guess, but it's like, buddy, let me dribble twice before you start going hard-o mode and playing defense. I know that's not how it works, but then when I saw that, I said, oh boy, that means the Raptors came to play, because I think I knew the Celtics were gonna come to play, to be completely honest. They got beat by this team badly last time out, embarrassed, you know what I mean? So, but when I saw the Raptors come out and I go, oh boy, this could be tough. But then, again, back to the player of the game. I see them on the offensive end, and watching Robert Williams, even when he didn't have the ball, he's banging, he's bruising, he's fighting. I was like, wow, no, they're going to match the physicality tonight. And Jason Tatum starts off the game by going to the hoop. Like, it was yes, defense and scrappiness, but just the fact that Toronto came in with the mindset of we're going to out-physical you, and the Celtics said, that is very cute, and just out-physical them, I love that. Mitch says, Jay Rich is a solid player, not flashy, but he goes about his business. And that's all I want people to understand. When I talk up Jay Rich, I already know that I'm probably wrong saying he's going to be the third scorer on this team. Doesn't look like that's happening. But in terms of how I said he was going to contribute in various YouTube videos or on Twitter or anything like that, I still stand by that. I think by playoff time, we're going to realize how crucial this guy is to the bench. AC is saying, actually, no, skipped one here. Hold on. I'm losing my place. Steve-O saying Tatum's two-way player ability was on display tonight despite his shooting struggle. Yeah, and that's the great thing. Yeah, he missed some shots, especially threes. He was 43%, which he still will take based on some of his games. But it was like I didn't have, and there was plenty of shots that would go into this, but compared to some of the other games this year, I didn't have any like, Tatum, why are you shooting that bad shot? He didn't look like he was forcing tonight. If anything, he missed some shots, sure. But, like, Tatum, good game tonight. Like, he was, if Robert Williams wasn't alive, Tatum was the player of the game tonight for sure with that near almost triple-double. That makes sense, Ev. AC says, you know what I love tonight? Toronto had several fast breaks in the season, never gave up and forced several missed layups. That was awesome. I like the fact that I agree, AC, but I like the fact that late in the game, like, they stole, like, the ball 3 times in a row just because Toronto was, like, getting sloppy. I was like, all right, I'll take it, I guess. Ubi saying, am I the only one that noticed Al's minutes decreasing every game? I wonder why. I think we know why. I mean, maybe I'm wrong or seeming like I'm hating on Al, but I think we know why. I mean, he's on the older end in terms of NBA players, and I think you got to manage him. You know what I mean? Like, you got to manage him, and they're probably realizing, okay, we got some big games coming up. We don't want to exhaust him, and that's what I think. You know what I mean? And again, it kind of goes back to what I said. You're starting him, expecting him to, be one of 2 big men pretty much on this team. They're not playing Cantor. Grant Williams, I don't know if we can even consider like a backup big. He's been playing, 3-ish, 4, like, right? Like, I think that they're managing Al Horford to the best of their ability, and so far so good with Robert Williams. Like, fingers crossed this continues. I know he's missed, but like, Health-wise, this is the best Robert Williams has looked in a I guess his whole career. So I think that they're just managing him, I guess. And I don't know if that's bad. That's probably good because the way Al's playing so well tonight, and I mean, he didn't have the best night tonight, but still contributed. The way he's playing, I feel like you got to keep that up, right? Like you don't want to blow Al's, load, I guess, early in the year type of thing. Like he looks like he's going to be a piece of this team. You might as well keep him healthy. AC says, could Udoka have challenged Tatum goaltend? I don't know. And here's what I thought. I mean, he ended up missing one of the foul shots, so it was actually like a 2-point swing. But I was thinking, if I'm a coach and say that is challengeable, I don't even know if it is, I wouldn't have challenged it because that should have been, in theory, the difference of 1 point. And I would be like, I'm not going to challenge that. You know what I mean? But it's still like, I mean, they got that wrong easy. I see some happy birthdays in the chat for Greg. Shout out to Greg. Let's see. How did I lose my... all right, here we go. Raisin says, has anyone figured out how Al is still a beast at 36? Is he on TB12? There's a perfect. And I think that has to go into the fact that they are managing him pretty well. You never see him out there. Like, when's the last time Al Horford looked tired in a game? Right? Like, all of a sudden, it's like Al Horford's out. Like, he doesn't look tired. Tyler saying J-Rich starting to find his role. AC saying my prediction, Celtics will be a top 5 defense by the end of the year. I mean, I hope so. They have this. Here's the thing. And I'm not saying they will be. I like that prediction. They have the guys that can do that. And that sounds crazy, but it's not. Robert Williams, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, Josh Richardson, Dennis Schroeder, and then you throw in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are not like world-renowned defenders, but are good defenders. They can go 7 deep, and then even maybe more if you want to say, Grant Williams or Romeo Langford. I mean, I wouldn't say those are hook, line, sinkers, like talk about it in the league defender type names. But when those guys are playing to the best of their ability, for sure. So they can, they have the names to do that. It's MGM's birthday too. Shout out to you. But I will say this, like in terms of that defense thing, like I'm struggling to find other teams in mind that are like, they can easily be like, what I'm saying, Celtics top of in terms of talent, scheme and all that could be totally different. But in terms of talent, they are player-wise towards the top of the list in what they can do. Now, they don't necessarily have like a Giannis or something like that can just totally play defense for 5 people somehow. But, I just listed, 7, 8 guys that are legitimately defensive players or can play defense. Gear says, I don't know if you see it, but Schroeder talks smack to the other team's bench every single game. I like it. He does it on the court too. I like it. Like he plays a little bit of an attitude. Him and Jay Rich, like watch Jay Rich too. Jay Rich doesn't say much. He's gotten into it in his career and stuff too, but he doesn't say much, but he is the same type of thing. Like he plays with his attitude, if that makes sense. He doesn't look like it. He's kind of straight-faced, but both of those guys, huge additions in terms of like playing with that sort of, edge, right? And you throw that in with Marcus Smart. We've seen Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both get that look in their eyes before. Like, if anything, I'm hoping we're seeing a trend in the right direction in terms of this team starting to play with some nuts. And I mean that. Like, I remember one stream last year, I said, hey, we got to find the Celtics balls. And I'm looking over, I have my couch in my office here. I'm picking up the pillows, looking for them. I was pissed. I was pissed, I guess, because I couldn't find this team's, like edge. Obviously, I'm not going to find it in here, but, just that's the point. And this team, like, we haven't necessarily seen that this year, but this might be the first game that we see. Like, even in the Miami game, you played good defense, but I don't know if we see that, like, grit. And I think it started to bud tonight. MGM Sims, and this is true. Toronto got a lot of flack for drafting Scotty on draft night, but damn, he's proving people wrong. Kid special. Rookie of the year right now, right? He is so good. And I know that we had Raptors fans in here last time the Raptors pumped us and, they came in and they were actually super respectful. But, like, Scotty Barnes, I can't say anything negative about. He's similar to, like, this is a weird comparison, but I was just talking about it. Same thing as, like, Josh Richardson. Like, he doesn't say much, but he plays with that attitude and that compete and that competitive, like, I like Scotty Barnes a lot. And I know people said that they reached for, what is it? Did it go 4? 4 overall? And it was similar to how people said, Obviously, like, he was rumored to be around there type of thing, but people gave Danny Ainge crap for drafting Jalen at 3. Similar to Scotty Barnes, it's like, you might not want to judge a book by its draft pick. Right? Isn't that the saying? Anyways, here we go. CJ says Dennis over Smart. I do think Dennis Schroeder by the end of the game proved why he should be this team's point guard, but Marcus Smart, I can't complain about his game tonight. Marcus Smart may still have the offensive struggles that we hate, but can we admit that he's finally getting back to making those I guess, Marcus Smart plays? I was thinking of a word to describe it, but they're literally Marcus Smart-esque plays. He's finally getting back to doing that, which last year, if you remember, he was taking the threes, which I don't know if he's totally stopped doing, but he was just forgetting about defense last year. At least this year, he's kind of doing a little bit of both here, right? AC says, are Aaron Nesmith and Pritchard in the doghouse? Almost no minutes despite no Jalen. You know what's weird is I think it comes down to Dennis Schroeder and Josh Richardson playing well. Now, I know that they both should get more minutes or something, but I think that's what it is. Like, if this team was the same as last year, those guys are going to be filling in for those types of minutes, but how could you sit Schroeder or Josh Richardson right now? And those guys are the guys that probably would go in for them, so I don't know. I've heard people say, like, that's a bad thing. It's clogging their growth, but it's like, it's not like you're playing two 48,000-year-old guys and Dennis Schroeder and Josh Richardson, so I think that's the reason. I don't know, though. Doghouse, I don't know, because we would have thought that, Aaron Nesmith or even Pritchard last year didn't play at some stretches, right? You'd be like, that's a Brad Stevens' weird, wonky rotations. But now we're seeing it with a new coach. We don't have that excuse anymore, so I don't know. It's a good question. Like do these guys, because, again, I'm big on rotations here. If they're just out of the rotation, good luck trying to get production out of them late in the year when you need to make pushes or hell in the playoffs or anything like that. Like, the rotation starts, like, your rotation should be locked in pretty damn soon, Obviously, things can change. I'm not saying everything needs to be final, but seriously. All right. Let's try and get through some of these here. CJ says, trade Smart, Cantor, and Grant and bring back Taco. I mean, Cantor and Grant, I don't think are doing. I mean, I can't say that about Grant. Grant has had a rough stretch, right? And I've never said anything negative about him, so you guys know I love Grant. This isn't a game where I come out saying trade Smart, but I will say I talked about it in the live stream with KJ, our show, the Celtics Power Hour, that we do either on Tuesdays or Thursdays, trying to fit it in between Celtics games. I will say, Marcus Smart's not like last year I was defending Smart and everything like that. Like, Marcus Smart has had a tough year, like he's not the guy that I wish he was. I know we just got, this sounds backwards because we just got finished praising him, but I don't think he is like I hate to say because it's not coming out right. I don't think Marcus Smart's like a instrumental piece to a championship anymore. And that sounds weird because, like, I'm saying that almost, like, half-heartedly. Like, I almost think you can get around not having a Marcus Smart. I realize how much he means to this team and whatnot, but, you look at being like, oh, this is our point guard, Marcus Smart, and then you get a guy in free agency like Dennis Schroeder come in, and then, within a week of the season, I'm sold on being like, that's probably our point guard. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. And I guess, I say that and sound like I'm being harsher than I am. Like, I don't want to get rid of Smart. I'm not actively shopping him. But he definitely isn't, like, untouchable to me. Does that make sense? Like, I would, if they could get a good return for Smart, I'm not being like, oh, no, that guy's the heart and soul anymore. And that sucks. It's the wrong game to say that about him because I do think that he had a decent game tonight, but it is what it is. Mayhem says, did you hear when Abby said Grant met Al when he was 8 years old because Al played for the Hawks? Wow. Wow, I mean, you hear about that stuff all the time with, like, Tom Brady and football and stuff, but you don't think about it with basketball. Like, Al Horford is 36. Grant Williams is, 20? Like, yeah, that's crazy. Gear says, wouldn't mind some Hauser or Juancho minutes in a blowout game. I'd like to see Juancho. I'd like to see Jabari, and that's, I guess, just about it. Hauser, like, I mean, I don't follow if he's up or down type of thing. He does have the limit because he's a G League player, right? But in terms of Juancho, like, I think Juancho could help this team. I think that Jabari could help this team, and it's like, if you're just going to X them out of the rotation, you'll never know that. Raisin says 3 times now the Celtics have held teams under 100 points. Not often you see that in the league these days. The league, I mean, I will say this. The way the games are being called differently with the refs now, unders are hitting like crazy. Like a lot of teams are putting up 90, but I will give you credit there, Raisin, in that point, and I think that's probably what you mean too, is the way the Celtics are holding team, like they're playing good defense. You know what I mean? It's noticeable. It's not just like Raptors missed a bunch of shots tonight. No, it's like the Celtics held them to 88 points. You know, like so 100%. But I just in general, I do think we're seeing a lot more unders float around this year. CJ saying Dennis took their shine. Yeah, I do think he took Neesmith and Pritchard. Ma'am saying, I love the new defensive rules this year. Rewards teams are putting on defense. I mean, perfect timing for that. AC says, a lot of people made smart player-only meetings seem unproductive, but they played with edge. That's true. I think that I don't know, like even Woj said, right? Was it Woj or Shams was like unproductive meeting, and you'd be like, oh, that's a bummer. Since that moment, the Celtics have seemed pretty good. Right? So maybe it did do something. I don't know. I mean, how could you? I mean, maybe at least it drew attention to something. And that's fair enough, I guess, to mention. Oh, man, I'm losing my spot here. When I can't read very well, I know what to do. I put on the reading juice here and chug it down. Another room sauce bites the dust. CJ says they're slowly bringing back prison ball, and it's been a long minute. Yeah, I mean, and it's, I think slowly bringing it back is the right way to put it, because you can't hammer a guy still. They still have kind of like what was his name? I can't even think of his name. The guy that had the flagrant foul tonight. Malachi Flynn on Marcus Smart. Like that's like, that would fly back in the day, right? But what I will say is that stupid like pump fake and jumping like 90 degrees to the left to get a foul on your jump shot, they've nixed that, and I love to see it. So that is totally true. Like, I love to see that. Joey says, trade Schroeder and Smart for Simmons. I mean, I'd probably do that. And that's coming off of a good game from Schroeder and Smart. Like, I think I would do that. And again, if you guys have read into or thought about the Schroeder, and I don't want to get into it because it's old news at this point, the Ben Simmons for Jaylen Brown stuff, like, no way in hell you do that deal. But I think as much as I hate Ben Simmons, as much as it's supposed to be part of me as a Celtics fan to never want to see that guy in green or anything, if you could get him for a discount price, I say, why not? So I do think Schroeder and Smart could be a discount price, because Smart would be the loss in that deal. Now, hear me out. It's because Schroeder isn't going to be here next year. Like, Dennis Schroeder, as much as he loves it here, as well as he plays here, he fumbled the bag this offseason. I fully believe that Dennis Schroeder will try and go get another bag next offseason. And maybe he'll love it here, right? Like, I'm just saying, as of right now, like, it doesn't make sense why Schroeder would be like, you know what? I'm going to stay here for another, like, 5.9, 6.9, whatever he's getting. Like, he'll be on his way if he knows, if he's, has any sort of a similar mindset to what he had when he signed that deal. So you're essentially trading Smart for Simmons, which would suck to do, but I think I would do it. I don't know. I don't want to get into that much. CJ saying we need Marcus Morris. Those Morris brothers and the Jokic brothers, that could be a fight and a half. That was a crazy, like, I watched that and everyone was like either shitting on Morris, I guess, for the push, or I guess the check, and then Jokic for retaliating. And I looked at that and I was like, that's just like, you hit me, I hit you. I do think it was a little bit like, oh, tough guy, hold me back mentality of the Miami Heat waiting in the hallway for the Nuggets. Like, okay, what were you really going to do? What were you going to do? Wait for someone else to hold you back even more? Like that, I hate that fake macho stuff. But Morris hits Jokic and Jokic retaliates. I was like, oh, that's just good. Like, hey, tempers flaring. I kind of like to see that. I know, like, for young kids watching the game and stuff, you want to eliminate that, but I don't hate that at all. I like that, a superstar like MVP like Jokic would retaliate like that and absolutely level him. That's like, I liked seeing that. It was like oh, I'm not too good. Like, the one thing about LeBron, and it's kind of fair. LeBron, when he'd never get in a beef or a fight with anyone, because he'll do the, oh, what's the name on your back? Like, I don't even know who you are. But Jokic just won an MVP, and he's out here just throwing hockey checks. He looks like a middle linebacker in football or strong safety. So I mean, I don't hate that. But I didn't like the. I thought it was a little like overblown. Like the Miami Heat are waiting in the locker room for them. It's like, yeah, okay. Or waiting in the room for them. I'm like, okay. All right. Markieff Morris lays a big hit. Jokic retaliates, and all of a sudden it's like we're all in the mafia. We're going to try and, hit each other. Like, what are you doing? Late saying, I'm not a Smart fan, but this team has looked better since he called out the Jays. It's true. It is true. Ma'am saying, Def don't want Simmons. AC saying, your boy Grant made a big play, stopping a fast break when it was an 8-point game. Grant's been good this year. I mean, he started to tailor off how he started. Like, he isn't a superstar like people were saying. Not that anyone was saying that, but yeah, 100%. I think Grant's been better. Oh, I got to pour this. We've moved on from the boom sauces to just a staple. Trade Cantor and Hernan Gomez for Olynyk. I mean, that's just like 3 guys that might not play, but Olynyk could be all right. Who else would you like to trade for? Coming from Joey. Harrison Barnes, Bagley. So I just saw a tweet or something. Marvin Bagley got asked to check in and he just declined. Is that true? Like, I don't know. I just saw a tweet. Like, I don't know if that's true. I would take Marvin Bagley in a heartbeat. And I don't know if I've told it's on the video about Marvin Bagley on the channel, but Marvin Bagley I met and he cried to me. Like, so he would not remember that, but I tell you guys, it's the truth. I would take Marvin Bagley, not that that has anything to do with anything, but I would take Marvin Bagley in a second. He still's got potential there. Harrison Barnes, I would also take, but I still feel, and I've said this for a couple of years now, I think you'd have to overpay for Harrison Barnes. I get it. He's good. He's really good. He's taking a lot of shots there, though. I think that he's a really good player, both two-way guy, but I do think you'd have to overpay for Harrison Barnes. Marvin Bagley, I think you get on the low. Ubi says, how long until the Jays tune out Smart? Because it happened with Brad, and Brad wasn't making bonehead plays in the court like Smart has been doing. I think Smart played all right. I do think Smart played all right tonight. But how long, so the one thing that I definitely didn't like, right, about Marcus Smart's comments, and we don't have to get back into that, I didn't like that he was like, oh, I'm proud of those guys. If I was Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, big, you don't say you're proud of me. Like, I'm so far above you in terms of that. You know what I mean? So, but I will say, it's different to play with a guy than a coach that you don't relate to, right? So if they tune out Brad Stevens, that's one thing, but they're in the trenches with Marcus Smart. I don't know if they can tune him out. But tune out his play style, he's been better as of late. I got to give him credit. Ubi saying, speaking of Morris, what do you think of when I talked about the Mafia too, the Jokic brothers seem like they may be involved in some sort of wherever they're from, like Mafia or something. Like, those are the Markieff and Marcus Morris seems like they could beat up some NBA players, right? Like, I give them that. They're tough players, tough twins. But they seem like very much like a tough guy act type of guy. Like, a guy jumps out in an alley and says, hey, give me your money. They're like, hey, all right, man, here you go. Jokic brothers, they would say, if a guy jumps out in an alley and says, hey, give me your money, they look at him and go, you don't know who you're messing with. You could take my money right now, but it's going to be the worst decision of your life. Like, I could see, and they're big, but I could see them just talking to me being like, you don't want to do this. And I go, you know what? The way you say that, on board. I'm going to turn right around. I'm not going to rob you. I would take the Jokic brothers. They got something up their sleeves. I don't know, man. Raisin saying, if they can get that W against Milwaukee on Friday, I'll feel a lot better. That's true. That would say a lot about this season. And Milwaukee, I mean, Milwaukee's kind of been up and down. Like, they rattle off 2 now against 2 very strong Eastern Conference competitors, so you can't say too much negative about them. But in terms of, like, being the best team out there and, championship last year, Milwaukee has some flaws. They've been injured. I don't know if, it's who will be active, I guess. You got a bunch of guys that are questionable, like, every single day. but I'd love to see that win. Raisin saying, guys, we're just gonna take a few more comments here. But Raisin saying, if the thing with Simmons, say it's a close game in the fourth, then you wouldn't be able to put Simmons out there because he sucks at free throws. I know it is true, but I don't know if like that holds up the deal. It's totally true though. I can't deny that. CJ's wanting the loose fitting jerseys back in the golden era. I'd love to see that too. AC says, I'd be willing to bet Simmons would excel here. Jalen and Jason's team and Simmons have to do is just drive and dish. That's the thing. Simmons can't be your number 2. Can't be your number 1 for damn sure. They learned that in Philly. Then now they have Embiid, and it's like, okay, well, guess what? We don't need you to be a number 1, but be our number 2. He's not that either. He could come here and be number 3. That's true. Gear says we need to watch Cantor when he fought LeBron. Mayhem says, I'd rather see Lonzo here than Simmons, but if Simmons kept his ego in check, it could work. And again, guys, you got to understand with the Simmons thing, it's very much a price-based deal for me. I said that yesterday on the podcast. It's very much a price-based deal. Like, I don't want Simmons here if I even have to pay full price. If you can get him at a discount because everything that's going on, and I hope his mental health is fine. Like, I gotta say that. If you can get him at any sort of a discount, then yes. I'm not saying I would want him though. AC saying, good God, Bud Light on a victory and I have taught you nothing. AC, man, I'm getting up at 4:30 a.m. tomorrow to do my NBA picks. 2 boom sauces is enough to make me not want to get up at 4:30 a.m. So we're switching to water. All right, AC. I mean, I can't even argue you, but it is the case. Gear says, did you see CNN's tweet about Boston Celtics star Enes Kanter? I did not. This is a great one. Ubi says, one player that I'd love is DeJounte Murray. Oh my God, I'd love him too. Ubi says, Ev would go to rob the Joker's brothers and end up being the one robbed. I wouldn't just be Ubi. I wouldn't be just robbed. I'd be like, okay, hey, give me your money. I could have 2 guns pointed at them, right? Hey, give me your money. And all of a sudden they say, nope, we're not doing that. I'd be, you're right. I'm going to be your servant for the rest of your life. And whatever you want, I'll do. That's how that would end. 1,000,000%. There's saying, I think Jimmy Butler is the fakest tough guy ever. Someone on Twitter said Jokic would twist him into a pretzel, and I agree. How about, who was it? It was Butler. So in that situation, right, when the tempers flared, Butler and someone else were so, and again, it was someone else that likes to be the tough guy, right? Someone else was right next to him, and they waited for like the masses to sort of herd, and then they ran in there, and I'm like, whoa. Aren't you supposed to be the tough guy? You should be the first guy in line. Now, what I will say, and I got to give him credit, he's the type of guy you hate to have on another team, Tyler Hero, but you'd want on your team because he's just such a punchable face. Tyler Hero is right there, and Jokic is like 9 foot tall, 842 pounds. Jokic just stepped right up. Now, he's not doing nothing. Let's not get that confused. I have a better chance of robbing the Jokic brothers or just Jokic 2 nights ago, whenever it was. Than Tyler Hero. But man, he stepped right up. You guys are saying it was Tyler Hero. I don't know. Tyler Hero stepped up, at least in the clip that I watched. Am I off about that? Because it might have been Bam. I'm talking in the back. Jimmy Butler. Tyler Hero wouldn't do anything. You guys, I don't want you guys misunderstanding. I'm talking about when it happens. Tyler Hero went and stepped up to him. Didn't get in his face, don't get me wrong. But Jimmy Butler's like 30 feet away, and he's like, okay, now there's a bunch of people in front. Now I'm going to act like I'm going up to him. At least Tyler Hero took a step forward. At least, it might have been PJ Tucker. Tyler Hero, I know, wouldn't do anything. But I'm saying in that clip, Tyler Hero's first instinct was to step forward at Jokic. And I was like, bad business decision, dude. But at least he did that. You know what I mean? Like, he was fake tough guy in that moment. Do not get me wrong. Like I said, I'd have a better time or a better chance at winning that fight. But Tyler Hero, at least his instinct was to step up for his teammate. But like Jimmy Butler, and maybe it was PJ Tucker. That seems like it could be him. Or in the back, just standing there. It all happened. Hell's breaking loose. They wait for, a bunch of bodies in front of them. And then they go, yeah, I'll kill you. Like, what are you talking about? Raisin saying both things can be true. Morris body checking Jokic like that was wrong, and Jokic for channeling too. So they're both true. You're 100% right. I don't hate, like, I could say, don't throw a punch in the NBA, right? But, and maybe that's just like outdated of me to say this, but a hard foul and retaliating by like a check to the back, like I don't hate that. I like seeing that guys still have emotions in the NBA instead of playing like grab ass with each other and like, trying to recruit each other to other teams. So obviously, Raisin, I do agree, like it's too aggressive. It was wrong to do, but that's the type of thing I watch and I go, you know what? Like obviously no one wants that in the league, but I don't hate that. I'm not like, oh my God, you guys are bad people. No, like that's like they're playing sports. Like they got fired up, hard foul, like and people that are saying like he was trying to block the shot, like bull. Bull. You know what I mean? But Jokic, you can't deny that he retaliated, but people, saying like, oh my God, there's no room for that in this sport. Yeah, that's why the rules are in place, and that's why he's getting suspended, but I don't hate that he did it. Like I like the fact that guys still don't want to like each other in the NBA. Gear says, where was Duncan? He says Duncan probably got scared and ran to the locker room. Do not blame him. I don't blame Duncan Robinson whatsoever for that. Talk about a business decision. That's Duncan Robinson's business decision. But anyways, guys, we are going to close down the stream. Appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. Big time Celtic stuff. You'll love to see it. And hopefully we're cracking some more of these in the future, because the Celtics are starting to take some dubs. I will let you guys know. Make sure to keep an eye on the community tab this weekend. Maybe going away, so may not be here for the stream. We'll see if we can get someone to fill in, but I'll keep you guys posted. It's not totally confirmed yet, but I will let you guys know. But we'll catch you guys in the next stream. Great win tonight. We can all agree on that. Probably the best year in my opinion, but we will kill you guys. I was still thinking about the beef there. We will catch you guys. No one's dying here, I promise, if you watch the stream. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.